Imagine for a second that you are 35 years old. Maybe you're already there, maybe it's a few years away, or maybe it's in the rearview mirror. But picture this. You wake up on your 35th birthday, you call your HR department, and you tell them to stop your 401k contributions. You log into your brokerage account and cancel your automatic transfers. You stop saving for retirement. Completely zero. And instead of panicking that you're going to be eating cat food when you're 80, you realize you're actually done. You are set. For the next 30 years, from age 35 to 65, every single dollar you earn from your job is yours to spend. You can upgrade the house, take the expensive vacation, buy the nice car, or just work a lower-paying job that doesn't make you want to scream into a pillow every night. It sounds reckless, doesn't it? It sounds like the kind of bad advice that ruins lives. But it's actually a mathematical certainty called coast fire. And honestly, it is the financial sweet spot that nobody talks about because everyone is too busy trying to sell you on the idea of hustling until you drop. My name is Zara, and I've spent the better part of my career deconstructing why we feel so much guilt around spending money and realized that most of us are front-loading our stress instead of front-loading our investments. See, the traditional advice is to save a steady 15% of your paycheck forever. It's safe, it's boring, and it works. But it also means you're restricting your lifestyle during the years when you have the most energy and the most expenses, your 30s and 40s. Today, I want to show you the math behind flipping the script. We are going to look at exactly how much money you need to have invested by age 35 to literally never save another penny again. Let's be real for a second about how retirement math actually works, because most people have a fundamental misunderstanding of the gap. The gap is the difference between the money you work for and the money your money works for. When you first start investing, your contributions, the actual cash you take out of your paycheck, are doing 90% of the heavy lifting. You put in $1, the market maybe adds a few cents. It feels like pushing a boulder up a hill. It sets exhausting, it sets slow, and honestly, it sets why so many people give up in their 20s. They look at their account balance and think, I sacrificed all those lattes and nights out for this asterisk. But here is the thing about compound interest that our brains aren't wired to understand. It's exponential, not linear. There is a tipping point. Eventually, the interest your money earns becomes larger than what you could possibly contribute from your salary. And once you hit that tipping point, your portfolio takes on a life of its own. Coast fire is basically the strategy of sprinting to that tipping point as fast as humanly possible, usually in your 20s and early 30s, so that you can stop running and just walk the rest of the way. To understand why stopping at 35 is possible, we have to look at the rule of 72. This is a quick mental math trick used to estimate the number of years required to double the invested money at a given annual rate of return. If we assume a historically average return of about 7%, adjusted for inflation, your money should double roughly every 10 years. So, let's play this out. If you have money invested at age 35 and you don't touch it until 65, that money has 30 years to grow. That is 3 doubling periods. 35 to 45 is one double. 45 to 55 is the second. 55 to 65 is the third. This means every single dollar you have invested at age 35 will be worth roughly $8 when you retire. 8 times the value. If you have $100,000 invested at 35, it becomes $800,000 at 65 without you adding another cent. If you have $200,000, it becomes $1.6 million. The heavy lifting isn't done by your salary, it's done by time. Now, compare that to someone who starts saving at 45. They only have 20 years until retirement. That's only 2 doubling periods. Their money only quadruples. To get the same result, they have to work twice as hard and save twice as much just to catch up. This is why front-loading is so powerful. You are buying time. But let's get specific, because I know you want the number. What is the magic number to hit coast fire? To figure this out, you need to work backward. You need to determine what your enough number is. For most people, a comfortable retirement nest egg is around $1.5 million to $2 million. In today's purchasing power, that allows for a safe withdrawal rate of roughly $60,000 to $80,000 a year. If your goal is $1.5 million at age 65, and we know your money will double 3 times 8x growth between age 35 and 65, we just divide $1.5 million by 8. The number is $187,500. That's it. That is the magic number. If you can scrape, hustle, save, and invest your way to roughly $187,500 by your 35th birthday, you are mathematically on track to retire a millionaire. You can stop contributing to your 401k. You can stop maxing out your Roth IRA. You can take that 20% or 30% of your income that you were aggressively saving and just spend it. Think about what that does to your life. The mid-30s are usually the messy middle of life. This is when people buy homes, have children, deal with aging parents, or face career burnout. It is the most expensive time to be alive. Most people are stressed out of their minds because they are trying to pay for daycare, a mortgage, and save for retirement simultaneously. If you hit coast fire, you remove one of those massive stressors. You can step off the gas. You don't have to quit your job. This isn't about retiring at 35 and sitting on a beach, because let's be honest, you'd be bored in a week. It's about coasting. Maybe you take a job that pays $20,000 less, but lets you pick your kids up from school. Maybe you finally start that business you've been dreaming about because you don't need to save for the future anymore. You just need to cover your bills for today. I remember talking to a client. Let's call him Mark. Mark was an engineer making good money, but he hated the corporate politics. He was grinding, saving 50% of his income, aiming for traditional early retirement. He was miserable. We ran his numbers and realized he had already hit his coast fire number at age 32. When I told him, Mark, you realize you never have to save another dollar to retire with $2 million, right? He went silent. It hadn't clicked. He didn't quit his job the next day, but he did stop working overtime. He started using all his vacation days. He bought the mountain bike he had been agonizing over for 3 years. The psychological shift was instant. He wasn't working for his survival anymore. He was working for his current lifestyle. However, I need to warn you about the hardest part of this strategy. It's not the saving. Surprisingly, saving the first $100K or $200K, while difficult, is just a matter of discipline and mechanics. The hardest part is the psychology of stopping. We are conditioned to believe that more is better. If you spend 10 years hyper-focused on seeing your net worth go up, it feels physically painful to stop contributing. It feels unsafe. You start thinking, well, if I keep saving, I could have $5 million instead of $2 million. And that's true. You could. But at what cost? This is where the concept of consumption smoothing comes in. Standard financial advice leads to a life where you are poor in your youth because you're broke, poor in your middle age because you're saving everything, and rich in your old age when you might be too tired or sick to enjoy it. Coast Fire smooths that out. It asks you to be disciplined in your 20s so you can be rich in time and experiences in your 30s, 40s, and 50s. So, how do you actually do this? If you are in your early 20s watching this, you have a massive advantage. To hit roughly $190,000 by age 35, you don't need a 6-figure salary right out of the gate, but you do need aggression. If you start at age 22 with $0, assuming a 7% return, you need to invest roughly $850 a month to hit that target by 35. That is a lot of money for a 22-year-old. I know, but it's not impossible. It might mean living with roommates longer than you want to. It might mean driving a beat-up Honda Civic while your friends are leasing BMWs. It might mean side hustling. But look at the trade-off. You sacrifice luxury in your 20s, a time when, honestly, you can have fun doing almost anything for cheap to buy yourself absolute freedom for the next 3 decades of adulthood. If you're starting a bit later, say at 25, that monthly number jumps up to about $1,100 a month. If you start at 30, you're looking at needing to invest nearly $2,700 a month to hit that specific number by 35. This is why the front-loading aspect is so critical. The earlier you start, the less heavy the lift is. And what if you're already past 35 and you haven't hit that number? Is it too late? Absolutely not. The principle remains the same. Maybe you hit coast fire at 40 or 45. The goal isn't necessarily the age. The goal is the state of mind. It's reaching that crossover point where your portfolio's growth outpaces your contributions. There is also a safety valve we need to discuss. Life is unpredictable. Inflation could spike, market returns could be lower than 7%, or Social Security might change. Coast Fire requires you to remain flexible. You can't just set it and forget it and never look at your accounts again. You need to check in once a year. If the market crashes 30%, maybe you turn the savings tap back on for a year or two. If the market goes on a tear and is up 20%, maybe you retire a few years early. But the beauty of this approach is that it moves the finish line closer. Traditional retirement planning puts the finish line at 65. The FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, puts the finish line at whenever you have 25 times your annual expenses saved, which often takes people until their late 40s or 50s. Coast Fire puts the finish line at the moment your compound interest can take the wheel. For many of you, that finish line is a lot closer than you think. I want you to really sit with this idea. We are often told that money is for security, but money is actually for options. By front-loading your investments, you are buying the option to say no. No to the toxic boss. No to the missed soccer games. No to the stress that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. You are essentially building a money machine in your backyard. In your 20s, you are building the machine. You are tightening the bolts, pouring in the fuel, sweating in the sun. But once that machine is built around age 30 or 35, you turn the key. And the machine starts running. It hums along in the background, generating wealth while you go inside and have dinner with your family. You don't have to keep building the machine forever. At some point, you have to trust the math and let it run. So, here is my challenge to you. Don't just look at your budget for this month. Look at your trajectory. Go find a compound interest calculator. I've linked a great one in the description below and play with the numbers. See what happens if you push hard for just 5 or 7 years. See how much freedom you can buy yourself on the back end. Because the goal isn't to die with the biggest bank account in the graveyard. The goal is to live a life where money is a tool that supports your happiness, not a chain that restricts it. You have done the hard work. Now let the math do the rest. Keep climbing, and I'll see you in the next one.